Good evening. My name is Joshua Ventresca, and I'll be presenting to you a brief history of shells. I'm going to start from Unix and I'm going to end in Linux. Now, this is only a condensed version of the history of shells. I'm just covering the essentials from the beginning to bash. I'm not going to cover too many variants. That would take too much time. So, what is a shell? A shell, or a command line interface, is a program that communicates with the kernel on behalf of the user through commands that it converts from text to operating system functions. So really, it's just a programming language that communicates between the user and the operating system. So it analyzes input and parses it, it expands symbols, and it executes commands, just like any other programming language does. It's just that this one is tailored for the command line. The first shell is the Thomson shell, aka the Unix version 6 shell. It was distributed alongside Unix version 6 to colleges and universities. It was also used inside Bell Labs at the time. It's programmed by Ken Thompson in 1971, 46 years ago, so that's almost half a century ago. It introduced basic input-output redirection, piping, sequential commands, and asynchronous commands. But it notably lacked the ability to script. The Bourne shell, aka SH, was developed by Stephen Bourne of Bell Labs in 1977. It served both as a command line interface and as a scripting language. It introduced control flows, loops, and variables into scripts, but it notably lacked the ability to define functions, which is something that the next shell would have, the C shell, or CSH, which was developed by graduate student Bill Joy at the University of California, Berkeley, in 1978 for Berkeley software distribution. It was developed alongside the previous shell, the Bourne shell. At the same time, it just happened to be released a year later. It was a scripting language similar to the C language, so many veteran programmers felt very comfortable using it. It added many quality of life improvements over Bourne's, including command history, aliases, file name completion, and others. However, unlike the Bourne shell, it wasn't available on most Unix distributions at the time. After that came the Korn shell, or KSH, which was developed by David Korn of Bell Labs in 1983. It implemented the quality of life functions from the C shell, but had more in common with the Bourne shell, and had strong backwards compatibility with the latter. It was originally proprietary software, and stayed that way for a long time. I guess it would be 17 years. There were a couple variants that were released, still proprietary. I know there was at least Korn shell in 93. I think there might have been in 89 or something like that. After all that, it was released open source in 2000. And lastly came the Bourne Again shell, or Bash. It was developed in 1989 by Brian Fox, not Bourne, for the GNU project as an open source replacement for the originally proprietary Bourne shell. It incorporates features from the Korn and C shells, and is currently the system standard for Linux and supports many other systems, including Windows. Now, its features won't be discussed here because we are learning all about them in Test Out and this course, so you should know about them, because that's what we're learning. All our command line stuff for Linux is done in Bash. So, as you can see, most shells, even the ones in use today, were programmed decades ago. It's a testament to the original coders that they're still in use today. Many of them have modern variants, but most of them remain largely unchanged and only have small incremental bug fixes. In an industry that is ever-changing, the fact that these cornerstones of computing stay the same is something to both study and celebrate. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully, I'll see you all at graduation. Take care.